the studio in Nitro, West Virginia. This is Unreasonable Doubt. It's a podcast about West Virginia University basketball. I'm Josh Witt, and West Virginia fails to put two good games together in a row again. From end of January until it is now middle of March, West Virginia has not been able to put two good games in a row together. And they finished their regular season in Kansas City at the Big 12 tournament with a season-high 22 turnovers. They fail to break 50, and they lose by 20 to BYU on a court that's goofy. I mean, it glows. You can see highlights on the court. That's awesome. 14 of those 22 turnovers were in the first half. It just wasn't there. It just wasn't there tonight, and this is not the first time we've seen West Virginia look like the ball is slippery to them, and the passing was very lazy at times, especially in the first half, and just bad decision-making throughout. As well as they played against BYU in Morgantown, the opposite happened in Kansas City. And when you finish 18-14 and you can't put two good games together in a row, that tracks. That makes sense. I mean, there was a play where Brennan Lorient, not his best night, had 7 turnovers, got the ball close to the basket, pump faked, got a guy in the air. He has the opportunity at that point to shoot the ball really close. And I like when Brennan Lorient is shooting open close to the rim. Dunks have been a little iffy all season. I've seen Brennan Lorient miss a dunk or two. He didn't have to dunk it. He had an opportunity to maybe a little bit of contact, but he'd be able to finish. Didn't take that opportunity. Did another pump fake. Got another, I think a different Cougar up in the air. Another opportunity to either dunk or get a high percentage shot up. And my man did not shoot. And what ended up happening was he threw a pass that did not end in a bucket. I believe that ended in a turnover. BYU goes the other way. They score. And that, not picking on Brennan Lorient here, but that sequence of offense is a microcosm of what the 2025-2026 offense looked like for West Virginia. It just looked difficult all season. It just a lot of offensive darkness with some glimmers of light bursting through in Honor Huff scoring a bunch in a row, or Chance Moore doing his dribble with his left hand, get to the bucket, like rays of hope. But it was Seattle. If West Virginia's offense was a weather, it was Seattle weather, where it rains 300 and some days of the year. The forecast for West Virginia's offense for the 2025-2026 season, cloudy. And it didn't manifest like this with all these turnovers, but just it speaks to not breaking 50, just not seeming like anybody besides Honor Huff in the first half having a good feel of getting the ball in the basket. It just wasn't there. Not the first time that we saw that. Might be the last time we see it this season, because that's it. The West Virginia did have a week on the NCAA tournament bubble. Do not hold your breath for West Virginia getting their name called on Selection Sunday. And that is the third straight season of not seeing West Virginia on your NCAA tournament bracket, which is the longest streak since I've been doing this podcast, going back to the 2017-18 season, and the longest since the Gail Catlett to that guy who was here for a cup of coffee, and then John Beeline. That's the last stretch where West Virginia has missed 3 straight NCAA tournament postseasons. Is that great? It is not. That's a bummer. It is the goal. And that goal is difficult with the amount of coach turnover and roster turnover that West Virginia has experienced in the last 4 seasons. So I get it. I see how that can happen. But here we are, and that's a bummer. But there's good news too here at the end of the season. West Virginia is going to have, I feel confident in saying this, West Virginia is going to have the same head coach, Ross Hodge, for 2 seasons in a row. I know. I know. It is amazing. That is unfamiliar territory for this program. Is having the same guy coach the team 2 seasons in a row. So when I go to kenpom.com next season, there will be, this is the Ross Hodge line for the 2025-2026 season. And then the 2027 is going to have the same name beside it, Ross Hodge. That's exciting. You should be excited about that. We're filling out Ross Hodge. I am pleased with what I've seen in Ross Hodge in year 1. You may feel different. We can agree that having the same guy for 2 seasons in a row is a welcome thing. Now, I'm not wishing this on Ross Hodge. If it goes south, that's a different story. Let's start with 2 seasons in a row. And I'm encouraged by what I saw overall in year 1. And that makes the offseason exciting because each offseason for the last since the events in 2023, it's been, the offseason has been a nightmare to start out with. And I mean, nightmare is strong, but there have been, just looking at going in the back catalog of this podcast, so many emergency episodes. I mean, just episodes of me wandering the streets of Nitro, West Virginia, trying to make sense of what's going on. Huggins gone, interim season, disaster. The last guy, they don't make the tournament. He goes to Indiana. So many emergency episodes. And while I can't I can't guarantee there won't be another emergency episode in the off season, it isn't going to be because of a coaching change, which is welcome. And this group, this coaching staff has an opportunity, a full cycle, to be able to recruit in the transfer portal, to secure their commitments from the high school guys. Remember, as it stands currently, West Virginia has one of the best rated recruiting classes as far as a freshman class in West Virginia University history. That's what 24/7 Sports says. So that's, and Miles Sadler, arguably the highest rated, I think it's unarguably the highest rated recruit since 24/7 Sports has been doing it. And he had an amazing senior year in high school. So making sure that dude sets foot in Morgantown and gets a summer and off season with this coaching staff, getting him enrolled, getting Kingston Whitty, I believe that young man's name is Kingston Whitty, Miles Sadler's teammate, the big guy, Dume, I believe is his name, out of the school there in Arizona, getting those guys to come. Of course, there's a retention component, which is amazing. I mean, that's exciting. Not only when you have the same coach 2 seasons in a row, which can only help retention, I would say, I don't want to, I'm not looking at the numbers right now, but the percentage of retention that a coach who has been at the school a year before has versus a brand new coach trying to keep guys who played for a different coach, I'm going out on a limb and say the retention numbers are way higher. And any retention as far as played minutes and scoring for Ross Hodge will be a jump from 0, which is what the retention as far as points scored has been, what feels like at least the last 2 seasons after the interim season with the last guy and from the last guy to Ross Hodge. So that's exciting. That's a great opportunity to retain players. Retaining, keeping that recruiting class, and then, of course, the transfer portal. That's coming up soon, and we'll see what it looks like, but I'm excited by all that. Once we know WVU's 2025-2026 season is over, we'll recap the season, give the Cammy Awards for the best and worst that happened for the season for WVU basketball. We'll get there. I don't want to do that today, and you don't want that today. We need a break from this team, and it might be a permanent break. Because here's what's next. If West Virginia's not going to play in the NCAA tournament, they are going to play in not a sad tournament. There's 2 other options that West Virginia can play. One's called the College Basketball Crown, which started last year. It had 16 teams. This year it'll have 8. It's played in Las Vegas. Those games are played April 1st through April 5th. They're on Fox Sports 1, and they finish on Fox, the network. And apparently there's money involved. There's NIT money for winning that thing, or I'm not sure how it works. But the 8 teams, it consists of 2 Big Ten teams, 2 Big 12 teams, 2 Big East teams, and 2 wild card teams. Now, West Virginia last season, they were invited because remember they didn't make the NCAA tournament. We all remember that. They got an invite to the Crown and they declined. And, things happened after that. So they don't go to the Crown. What's your impression of Ross Hodge? Do you think if he gets an invite to play basketball that he's going to decline? I don't see that. I think the man gets an invite to play basketball, whether it's NCAA tournament, the Crown, NIT, he's in. And I don't have any inside info on this. I see a lot of fan interaction with me and on the internet saying, let's be done with this season. Let's focus on next season. Let's get our ducks in a row, recruiting and setting up what we need to do in the offseason going into year 2. I don't think that Ross Hodge thinks that way. And the reason I don't, and North Texas is a different school, but the NIT invited North Texas to play, and they graciously accepted in both years that Ross Hodge was a head coach at North Texas. So when the Crown invitation comes, if West Virginia is one of those 2 Big 12 teams, and did you hear who could be consistent of? It's 2 Big 10 teams. Our friends at Indiana, they lost in their first game in the Big Ten tournament to Northwestern tonight. So they are firmly on the bubble. There's a good chance they don't get their name called for the NCAA tournament. And there is a possibility that Indiana could be one of those 2 Big Ten teams, and West Virginia could be one of those 2 Big 12 teams in the Crown. And if there's only 8 teams, there's a strong, or there's a decent likelihood, let's put it at decent, that the folks at the Crown, which is not the NCAA tournament, you might be hearing about the Crown for the first time. Many Big 12 schools that didn't make the NCAA tournament participated in the Crown last year. They had 16 teams. Some of them had losing records. It didn't matter. Now we're down to 8. But there's a chance that Indiana and West Virginia could be invited to the Crown. And would you put it past the Crown, which is just a made-up thing? Would they want to put Indiana versus West Virginia if both teams accepted the invitation to play each other? Do you think they'd want to do that? Now, both schools have to say they want to participate in the Crown, and maybe one school or the other sees that on the horizon and says, "Yeah, I don't want to do that." I hard pass on that. Let's just keep that at a hypothetical level. But if they both say I'm in, that is possible. We'll find out in a few days if that's going to happen. The crown reveal is Monday evening, the Monday after Selection Sunday, and it's the last of the quote unquote selection shows, because I think the NIT field comes out on Sunday night. So do I want that? Do I want to see, in a game that doesn't matter, against a bunch of guys that are out of eligibility, and do I want to see Indiana play West Virginia, a game that doesn't matter? It's going to matter to me. I don't know how much Indiana's going to care. I have a feeling that if you're a WVU fan, that would pique your interest. Oh yeah, West Virginia's playing Indiana? I'll watch that. I think that's possible. It seems like there's some storylines and some narrative that would make that matchup intriguing. Will that happen? I have no clue, and you don't either, but it is possible. And West Virginia, if they don't get a crown invitation, then they could get an NIT invitation. Again, Ross Hodge, 2 seasons as the head coach at North Texas, 2 trips to the NIT. If the crown says hard pass on West Virginia and the NIT gives West Virginia a chance, West Virginia, I think, would take that. I really do. The only thing I'd be shocked by is that West Virginia says no thanks to either and they're done. Now, on paper, I get the fan argument of, hey, a lot of these guys are seniors. They're done. What's in it for them? You've got a handful of freshmen. You've got some guys that are redshirting. They aren't going to participate. This is not like West Virginia playing in the NIT in Beeline's second season, where you're growing and you're building. It's not going to be a complete overhaul of the roster. I guess there's a chance it could be, but it's not, we're not building here. It's just finishing out this season. So I get that argument, but also I think of the argument that Ross Hodge gets an invite to play basketball and he wants to do that. So we're going to find out. Unreasonable Doubt is under the Smoking Musket umbrella. Go to smokingmusket.com. Read posts about WVU sports, daily throwdown. Check that out. Go to the Discord. We're talking about WVU sports and other stuff on the Smoking Musket Discord. Link for that is in the show notes. Listen to West by Pod, the WVU football podcast under the Smoking Musket umbrella. Do all that stuff. Smoking Musket. Let's talk about a happier tournament, which was the women's Big 12 tournament in Kansas City last week. Congratulations to the West Virginia University women's basketball team, who went to Kansas City as the 2 seed, 24-win regular season, double bye. They start against Arizona State. A little dicey late in that one, a little closer than they would have liked it, but they pulled ahead and had a double-digit win in the quarterfinal. Then they played Colorado in the semifinals, and that game had Ross Hodge vibes. That second quarter was a drag, only 9 points scored by both teams, and it was tight throughout. Defensive struggle, 1 point game late. West Virginia has the lead. Colorado gets a timeout, advances the ball to their side, gets the ball in, and as the lady takes a couple of dribbles, Jordan Harrison steals the ball from behind. Game over. West Virginia wins 48-47. So that's their escape game, and they get to the final against the 1 seed TCU. West Virginia 0-2 on the season against TCU. One was a buzzer beater in Morgantown. One was a loss on the Frog Court. And Kansas City, in this final, West Virginia got out to a strong start. They got TCU's best player in foul trouble. She got her third foul in the second quarter, got her fourth foul very early in the second half. And she kept playing. Like, she sat a little bit, but Miles was in there. But when you're playing with 4 fouls with almost half of the game left, you play different. And that benefited West Virginia. They were able to extend their lead to double digits, got really messy at the end in true West Virginia fashion, but the Mountaineers held on 162-53. Great celebration. Jordan Harrison was amazing, deserving of the most outstanding player award. Sydney Shaw was great in the tournament and kind of unsung hero all year long. Somehow did not get all Big 12 mention at all, which is rough because she was one of the 5 that was on the court and got West Virginia the win over Duke at the Greenbrier earlier in the season. Mark Kellogg, who only does 20-plus win seasons. Like, my man, his first season at Stephen F. Austin, he had like 16 or 17 wins. It's been 20-plus from here on out. 27, sitting on 27 wins this season and a Big 12 tournament championship, automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. They lost J.J. Quinterly. They lost, who's a WNBA player. Other pros, Kaya Watson and Kylie Blackstein. And he's got the formula on the women's side. This is what Ross Hodge needs to follow the Kellogg playbook, which is retain good players, hit in the portal, and kind of fill in the cracks with portal finds. And he did it this year, especially with Gigi Cook, Mimi Wheeler. They were great this season, additions, and keep and retain players. Bring back Shaw, bring back Harrison, bring back Rivera, bring back Woodley. Just bring back who you want that's going to contribute to winning. And they did it. And it was so awesome to see a Mountaineer team hoist a trophy. They are going to host most likely. You never know with the NCAA tournament committee, but they are in line to host NCAA tournament games at the Hope Coliseum in the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. Very exciting stuff. Loved watching that team all season long, and especially getting it done in Kansas City. Again, big congratulations to the Mountaineer women. On the men's side, will they play another game in a postseason that's not the NCAA tournament? We'll find out. That's it for this episode of Unreasonable Doubt. Listen on all the platforms, or just pick one: Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, Pocket Cast Podcasts, YouTube. Until next time, I'm Josh Witt, WVU. For the 2025-2026 season, they had 18 wins and they have 14 losses.